Tuesday, May 30th, and this is Geek Nights. Tonight we have the first tiny bit of Animazement coverage, and Scott talks about how much he hates Planetside.
Let's do this.
So we've always known about Google Calendar. I mean, we knew it was there. We had it. We just didn't really...
Actually, it's relatively new. And I remember the day it came out because everyone was like, oh my God, Google Calendar. And I was like, whatever. I don't use any calendar software. Every calendar software ever, whenever I have a paper calendar or a digital calendar or anything like that, I start to use it for 2 seconds or so, and then I stop using it, and I never look at it again.
Yep, I've only ever used them at work where I had to schedule appointments, and I don't remember appointments because I don't really care about them. I care about conventions, so I never need to remind myself when I'm going somewhere.
Yeah, I don't forget where I have to be, ever. But...
well, the problem is I tend to forget if I already have something scheduled when I'm trying to figure out if I can go to another thing. Like someone says, hey, you want to go to something on something? And I'm like, maybe.
Anyway, so today I finally decided to click because we have the Google Gmail for Domains thing. So I went and there's a little calendar link in the top left. So I decided, all right, I'll click on it and see. Apparently, it's actually really good. It's probably the best calendar I ever used. And I added I created one calendar for me and a calendar for the Front Row Crew, and I added all sorts of Front Row Crew events to it. And it's all public and sharing and all that good stuff.
Yep. Someday we'll probably expand it and offer email addresses to, I don't know, cool listeners. Maybe we'll give them away as prizes.
We don't have that many.
Well, we'll get more someday. I imagine us just paying for the full-on one.
Maybe.
But for now, no, only the elitist of the elite get them, meaning the people who already know us.
Yeah, but I think anyone in the world, I can make it so anyone in the world can see the calendar, so...
Yeah.
I'll set that up soon, and you'll be able to see the Front Row Crew schedule, which is, so far in June, there are 2 conventions, a board game meeting, and a concert.
Great.
And I'm going to a baseball game.
You know what? We should probably set one up for that Moz group, too.
Yeah, maybe I could set up a separate Moz calendar, because right now I'm just using I just put Moz event in our calendar.
Yeah.
I should probably make a Moz calendar or whatever.
Yeah, but that's all. I mean, no one listening cares about that. The Moz people don't listen to our show.
Nope.
Even though we run all of their IT.
Yep.
Yeah, but we like Google Calendar now, and we're playing with it.
Yep. So if you have a Google Calendar, maybe we'll start a Google Calendar thread in the forums and share everyone's Google Calendars with each other or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say tell your funny calendar stories, but...
There aren't any funny calendar stories. If you have a funny calendar story, hot damn.
Yeah. So one day, this calendar and your mom.
What about your mom?
What were you doing with your mom? In the back seat, rolling around?
I don't know, but I've got it scheduled for next week on my calendar.
Yeah, so Video Game Day in the news. I'm sure you all have heard this, but remember, we're not the news. We talk about the news. So if we give the news and you've already heard it, that's the point. The Wii
if
is
you haven't already heard it, you're detached from society and you're not a good geek. Go read some websites.
The Wii is going to be $250.
This isn't really news because I guess the story before was the Wii will not be more than $250. They guaranteed us it would be $250 or less. Now it's $250 for sure.
Well, I remember that the Super Nintendo was $250 when it came out, and it shortly dropped to $200. The NES, I don't know exactly how much it started as,
but we have $200.
I think so. I noticed a pattern. Yeah. Now, this is going to destroy the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, apparently before E3, they asked the Japanese gamers, hey, what do you want? And they're like, PS3s, RPGs, woo! I
mean, we're talking like Famitsu readers, like the hardest of core, like Japan, we are video game.
The thing is, to us, Famitsu is the elite gaming magazine. In Japan, Famitsu is GamePro. It's because it's Japanese, it's elite by default. But... it's like we think Shonen Jump Japan is so awesome. To them, it's just Shonen Jump. It might as well be Spider-Man, Yeah. They look at Shonen Jump the way we look at Spider-Man. So, after E3, all the Japanese gamers are like, wee! And like 83% of them said the PS3 was too expensive.
And of course, once again, for the price of a PS3, you can buy a fully loaded Xbox 360 and a Wii. and still have money left over.
In a somewhat legitimate poll, I think I said this yesterday, they asked people, what system are you going to buy? And half of people said a 360 and a Wii. 25% of people said Wii only. That means 75% penetration on the Wii. You like that? You like that? I didn't even plan that.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't.
We'll just have to work harder to get 100% penetration.
Well, I got to buy my own controller, so we'll have some double penetration. All right.
You're taking a little too far.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. How much is a controller going to cost? Because if it's $50 for one of those fancy doodad things, there's no way in hell I'm buying 3 extra ones when I get the system.
Well, I'll point out that the tradition in our household is that Scott buys a GameCube, I buy a controller for me. Scott buys a Revolution, I'm going to buy a controller for me.
I still have to buy the 2 other controllers.
Or, you know what?
People.
You can force all of our friends to buy their own.
Yeah. Well, some people who will buy Wiis will have their own controllers.
Yeah, you can be damn straight. I'll have my own controller that I'll bring everywhere with me. I won't touch another man's Wii.
Well, I'm getting green, so
I'm getting green.
We'll see about that.
All right. We can both have green, but we'll just mark yours with a big black.
We'll mark yours by dipping it in red paint.
All right. Let's touch on that non-video game news that we want to rant about.
Touch on the Wii.
All right, we're being silly today. This is just like a waste.
It started with an accidental, non-intentional Wii joke.
You see what kind of people we are?
Okay, so let's talk about sunscreen.
Okay.
That you put on your Wii.
It's a nice lubricant.
I know. You don't have to say it so bluntly.
Thank you, Ted. That was the joke.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, oftentimes when you see news about a consumer product.
Well, let's start with what happened today.
Well, I'm going to go very broadly, and then we'll go into what happened.
All right.
Just want to say that a lot of times we'll see a product and we'll know exactly where the buzz about this product came from. And it's usually obvious to us if or if not something is legitimately popular or if it is popular due to some sort of shilling.
Schilling, not Kurt Schilling, the Major League Baseball pitcher / EverQuest player. No, not him.
And not shilling as in the British currency.
Nope, not those either. Shilling as in hawking wares.
As in the people who keeps trying to get us to talk about their stupid books on Geek Nights.
Yes.
Which we're not going to do.
We're not going to interview about your book that we've never read that no one cares about.
If we did, we'd probably pan it just because you shilled.
Yes. All right, so here's the story of what happened today. There was an article on the ABC News website about this miracle chemical. Well, I don't think they said the word miracle, but it's a chemical called
Mexa something.
Let me try.
It doesn't matter what the name of the chemical is.
Okay, Mexoryl. Mexoryl. Anyway, the story behind Mexoryl, and this is all true, I checked out science-wise, is that...
What, in your lab?
Yeah, I was wearing a lab coat at the time. That's stolen from Lewis Black, I think.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the story behind this chemical is this. The sunscreen that we buy in America has the SPFs. And the SPFs, depending on the number, block UVB rays. UVB rays cause cancer.
And tanning.
And sunburn and tanning.
So they're good and bad, and you need some, but not too many. If you have darker skin, more is good, and it can't hurt you as much. If you have lighter skin, more hurts you more. You know, it's all commonly known.
SPFs that we get in our current sunscreen do not protect against UVA rays. But that's okay. UVA rays don't cause cancer and sunburn, but they do cause wrinkles. So if you were able to block the UVA rays, you would not be as wrinkly when you're an old fogey if you hang out on the beach all the time.
Uh-huh.
So I guess if you really, care about vanity and whatnot, that's a good thing. But this chemical Mexoryl, I guess, did I pronounce it right? Who cares?
I don't know.
Anyway, who cares what the name of the chemical is? It can block all UVA rays and some UVB rays. and they've been using it in sunscreen in Europe and Canada and other places since 1993. And most scientific studies say it's just fine. It's safe. It won't kill you. It doesn't hurt you. It's great. It's fantastic. Everyone should use it.
There's no reason to not just put it in all the sunscreen and help people out.
And the FDA hasn't approved it yet, so it's not in sunscreen. But apparently some pharmacists are selling it under the counter for big monies. And you could buy it online for big monies. And yeah. Now,
yeah.
I saw right through this. See, most people on the internet read this article and they take it at face value. You know, it was on Dig and it was on some other websites, and everyone's like, oh my God, the government is, the FDA sucks. They're preventing us from using this amazing chemical, bureaucracy, blah, and yeah, okay, those things are true. The government's pretty incompetent and stupid, and the FDA isn't perfect, and they prevent us from getting things we should have, and there are things we shouldn't have that they let us have because companies bribe the FDA and all this business.
Yeah, homeopathy shouldn't be around.
Yeah, all that stuff is true, but that's not what's really going on here. What's really going on here is, look, you're looking at an article on ABC News.
Now note how
it
suddenly appeared on a major news as opposed to appearing slowly on many sites or in some guy's blog or on multiple news sites simultaneously.
Yep. Which means some PR guy, this is what happened for anyone who doesn't see the obvious. Some public relations guy went to ABC News and said, hey, there's this miracle chemical that blocks UVA rays called Mexoryl. How come no one uses it? And the guy went, how come no one uses it? And he wrote an article about it. You know where that PR guy was from? L'Oreal, the company which owns the patent on Mexoryl. Now, we don't have any, if you're looking for evidence that this, who was the PR guy, when did he make it, we don't have that. It's just so blatantly obvious that the company that produces and wants to sell Mexoryl in the United States is going around to newspapers telling them to write articles about Mexoryl to get the American public all enraged about it so that the FDA will approve it and they'll be able to make a shit ton of money.
Fancy that.
It's so obvious that, but it's the things like this that people don't see when you're not trained to look for them. So I'm not telling you not to buy Mexoryl. In fact, you should buy some Mexoryl if you can because it's awesome.
Yeah, it really does work.
Yeah, but don't buy it overpriced under the counter from the pharmacist or anything like that. And if it comes on the market in the U.S. as a result of all this PR pushing by these companies that produce it, so be it. But when it comes out, buy it from, the no-name brand. That way, yeah. It's awesome.
I mean, just in general, remember that whenever you see a news article like that, look for the warning signs of, hey, this is a shell. Because it often is.
See, this article is not, you have to be trained to see this kind of thing because it doesn't mention any companies. It doesn't mention anything. It says, there's this great chemical. It does these great things. The FDA has blocked it. All it's trying, but, you're like, all right. That seems like a legitimate news story.
Now, warning sign number 1. The chemical's been around for a long time, and this suddenly makes the news.
Yep.
Warning sign number 2. It appeared on one news site. That news site was not the AP Wire or Reuters.
Nope.
Because these people generally won't pay every news site. Otherwise, it looks obvious. Of course, it looks more obvious when they only pay one, because how come no one else is running this story? Very few journalists actually do their own investigative journalism these days. Almost any story you see on the news is either paid for by a company, paid for by a third party for some other reason, or taken from the AP Wire or Reuters.
Or some third party made the story, and the news you're watching just bought that story and played it.
Yep, or a lot of companies just make news stories and give them away for free.
Yep.
Because they're actually shills.
Oh. Or, President Bush makes news stories and gives them away for free, and Fox News plays all of them. Or
President Bush hires a gay porn actor to pretend to be a reporter and hang out in the White House asking softball questions.
Oh.
I wish that story would get more press.
Too bad all those stories are true.
All right, so back to video game news because it's video game day.
Well, it's total game day, but
Yeah.
There's
Well,
really only video games.
today it's video games because we're not really going to talk about non-video games.
Oh, okay. So some guys were testing out the Vista Beta 2. Now, in the history of Windows, Beta 2 has always been sort of important because it's the first version that you can actually use all the time. You know, the Beta 1s and the pre-betas were always too unstable, and they would crash whenever you tried to use them for too long. But Beta 2 has always been the first version where it was good enough to use as your operating system. You'd have to deal with problems, but it wouldn't crash and be useless. So they tried to play some games on Beta 2, and they took some benchmarks and all that. Now, the story here is that any game with the evil Star Force DRM didn't work because Vista doesn't allow the installing of unsigned drivers, which we mentioned quite a while ago on Geek Nights.
So one evil turn has prevented another evil turn.
Da, da, da.
I'm not sure how this is going to play out.
Hilarity for geeks like us.
Yeah, either games won't work, or
Star Force will have to change its ways.
or Microsoft will take a lot of money out of Star Force because Microsoft doesn't care. Microsoft doesn't use Star Force in their games.
Nope.
They don't care if this company survives. They're not going to go easy on them. They're not going to make a
They don't care about some Russian evil DRM spyware bad driver guys.
If anything, I would guess that Microsoft, at least the people from the gaming side of Microsoft, or even the operating system, don't like Star Force because it gives PC gaming a bad name. They want PC gaming to be strong and on Vista.
And even so, if Star Force wants their driver, which isn't really a driver, to be signed by Microsoft, Microsoft's not going to approve it if it makes people's computers crash like it currently does. So they're gonna Star Force might have to fix it, or Star Force might have to die.
Yep. I mean, Microsoft may be evil, but they would never let something make their operating system worse if they can prevent it.
Yep. Especially when it's someone else. They don't mind if they fuck it up because they can cover it up. If someone else fucks it up, you know,
At least, and they don't
they're
want to
not gonna attach their name to someone else fucking it up.
Yeah.
Which means, you know, and signing the driver and allowing it to install in Vista would be putting their name on something shitty. If someone else wants to fuck up Windows, Microsoft lets it say, all you. It's nothing to do with us.
Yeah. Don't get me
Contact your
started on
third-party software.
Novell.
Yeah.
All right.
I just thought it was funny. It's a thing of the day rewind.
Yeah, we're talking retro.
We're talking before Geek Nights existed. We're going to go with, I guess, things of the day from years and years ago. Because guess what? There really wasn't anything good on the internet today. Not anything humorous anyway.
Except for that monkey.
Yeah, we'll do the monkey tomorrow.
Yeah, we will. So anyone who's listening now, if you look in Rym's Delicious, you'll see a link to tomorrow's thing of the day, at least Rym's thing.
Oh. Anyway.
Rym being me.
So I'm going to rewind it to one of my old favorite,
incredibly old school
thing of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, Futurama. Lobster magnet.
Now, this is probably the exact opposite of my thing of the day, which is from the same era.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the original memes.
Basically, how did I find this? I think 8-Bit Theater had a linked.
Yes,
page.
it was 8-Bit Theater.
8-Bit Theater had a page of funny links, and one of the funny links was Lobster Magnet. And it's this guy singing a pretty bad but amusing metal song, I guess, if you want to call it that.
So you've got a lobster and you've got a magnet. Lobster has antenna, but don't you grab it. We're not doing the whole thing.
Magnet made of iron.
Lobster has a beak.
No, it's made of meat.
Made of meat.
Made of meat. And then later it's like rabbit made of steel.
Lobster has a beak.
Lobster sticks to mag. You can just watch the You can just watch The Flash.
Yes, this is old, and I don't know why we found it so hilarious. Maybe mostly because these sort of things were new back then.
It's still good today.
It is. It's better than a lot of things I've seen recently.
It is. It's humorous. It's kind of wacky. It sounds cool.
We used to sing
The lobster's funny looking.
We used to sing it somewhat incessantly, much to the annoyance of the front row crew.
That's fine. You better watch out if the antennas and the magnets.
Yeah.
And the claws.
and and claw your eye.
It'll claw your ear, and then it'll bite
your eye. All right.
And then it'll sink your cruise ship.
Now, that is an example of one of the good memes back then. It spread far and wide and it was very popular. Mine is an example of perhaps the first dark age of memes. We are currently entering the second dark age of memes, and I'll explain that in a minute.
So there were crusades, and feudalisms, and bad memes arose that were long forgotten.
So I built a fourth meme. That one burnt down, fell over, and then sank into the style project. All right. So not too long after Lobster Magnet came out, there was a news story about a bird, a coin bird. A guy had, I believe it was a car wash, and someone kept stealing quarters from his change machine. So one day, he sets up a camera to catch the punk kids. And sure enough, he sees this bird fly up to it, fly in, wiggle its way into the machine, come out a minute later with one quarter, and fly away. Then about 10 minutes later, it comes back and steals another quarter and does this constantly. He goes out, he waits for the bird, he watches it, he goes up onto the roof of his place. He goes up there, and there are thousands of dollars worth of quarters all over the roof. The bird was just stealing the quarters and putting them on the roof.
Was it making a coin nest?
I don't know.
Coin nesting.
I don't even remember the story.
Pirate nest.
That is my recollection of the story that I read. You know what? I'll try to find the original story, and if I can find it with no effort, we'll link to it.
All right.
Now, someone made a flash video about the coin bird.
Well, some kid drew a MS Paint comic of the coin
yeah, you
bird.
want the whole story. MS Paint Comics. Let's make a Flash. Flash was made. Someone made a song for it. Now, this was an example of a meme.
Angry for coin.
Coin bad.
Someone summoned the coin bad.
Coiny.
Yeah.
I promise to help children and help coins.
I like children and coins.
Now, this was very obviously an attempt by the people who made it to be the next thing. Like, they saw Lobster Magnet was popular. They saw All Your Base was popular. They wanted to be popular, so they made this specifically in hopes that it would be picked up by the internet and become popular.
They tried to make a meme on purpose instead of just trying to make something funny for the sake of being funny. They tried to make something, they didn't try to make it funny. They tried to make it popular.
I believe we have to come back with the Rama Sharma. You tried to do too much with it.
You tried to do too much with it.
Yeah. Now, it did not spread far and wide, and it is not that funny.
No, it's really not funny.
Now, I say the first Dark Age because we are currently entering the second Dark Age. I mean, there was Numa Numa, and Numa Numa is awesome. Like, Numa Numa is one of my favorite things on the internet.
It's a pretty good one, yeah.
It makes me very happy to watch it. It's a very,
Maya,
ha, ha, ha.
Yep.
Now, look around YouTube or Google Video. There are thousands of fat kids lip singing to something.
Mm-hmm.
They're all trying to be the next Numa Numa or the next Star Wars kid, but
yep. Apparently those two Chinese kids doing the Backstreet Boys were real popular. They're still real popular. What makes them any better than the thousands of other high school punk kids doing some other song?
Yep, they're coin bird as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Now I'll warn you, Lobster Magnet is funny. Be prepared to not be amazed by coin bird. In fact, prepare to be underwhelmed.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all MS Paint, so what do you want?
It's real bad.
It's real bad. Wow, if it's bad, should it really be a thing of the day?
Yeah, it teaches a valuable lesson.
Don't let birds into your coins.
If Rym says to expect underwhelmingness, it is underwhelming.
No, you see what it is? We prime them. See, if you would have said Lobster Magnet was terrible, they would have watched it and said, yeah, that was terrible, just like you said. If you would have said Coinbird was awesome, they would have watched it and said it was awesome, just like we said.
You know what we could have done?
It's priming.
We could have set up 2 identical episodes of Geek Nights, except we say the opposite thing for the things of the day. I could have done that. Then if we ran the DNS server instead of contracting it out, we could have set up a round robin thing where every other person who downloaded the show got a different one, and then we could see what the effects were.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's too late to do that.
But how would we know which people watched which episode?
Because then we say, hey, guess what we did? Now that after everyone gives their opinions. And then we ask people to self-identify. Very, very not scientific, but I trust our listeners.
See, we do control the DNS server. To do a round robin, do you just type something in the DNS record?
Sort of. There are softwares you can use to make like specifically round robin, like every X ones go to Y.
Oh.
But
we can freely modify the DNS record.
Yeah, we could do a basic round robin. It's not very predictable it's not very predictable, but it works pretty well. The problem is we don't really need it. All it does is load balance.
Yep.
I would want to do a strict 50-50 or something with this.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it is gaming day. And in the spirit of slacking off all week, we don't have a particular main topic.
Well, we could talk about New Mario Brothers, but I just unlocked level 7 today. I've already beaten the game, and so is Rym. But I just unlocked level 7 today, and I'm trying to collect all the big coins, and I want to see just how much replay value the game has before I give a final verdict with a GeekNights episode.
Because for some reason, I wonder if any Mario game can ever have the sheer replay value of Mario 3.
Mario 3, which you suck at.
Yeah, I'm not that good at it, but you know what? I still fucking love the game.
Yeah. Mario World, it comes real close too.
Yeah, it does. For some reason, I think Mario 3 has a tiny bit more replay value.
Yeah. It's just something about Mario 3 where the levels are hard.
Yep.
Like in Mario World, you can learn how to unlock every level and just beat the hell out of everything with the capes and the Yoshis. Just kick its ass. Mario 3, this stuff that's hard to get, like stuff you only get one shot at, like hammer suits and stuff.
And white mushroom houses.
Yeah.
Plus, there are a limited number of resources in the game, a limited number of 1-ups, and no way to save your game.
And no way to turn around.
Yeah.
Not like Mario World. Oh, shit, I need a mushroom. Let me go back.
Back to Top Secret Zone.
Let me go back to an easy level where there's just mushrooms all over the place.
You mean Top Secret Zone, the level you didn't know about.
Yeah.
The level that is nothing more than...
I didn't have a Super Nintendo, right? That's what must be why you suck at Mario 3. You're too busy playing easy Mario World.
I was too busy playing fucking Pilot Wings.
Bionic Commando.
Yeah, Bionic Commando. Yeah, Scott and I are good at different games, but the games we're good at, we're freaking good at. I mean, Scott, you should see him. He could probably speedrun Mega Man 2.
Probably. I haven't played it in a while.
Yeah, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
But anyway... As you all know, I was at Animazement over the weekend.
Amazing.
It was animazing. I'm going to say that every day, all week.
That is so corny.
It is. It is. Though I have a funny thing about the name of the con from the musical that was put on at the con that I will say tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to do a little quick talk about the video gaming that was on and about, and actually a little bit of board gaming at Animazement, because as I did with Katsucon, it worked very well to split the video gaming off into a separate day.
Mm-hmm. Was there any DDR actions?
Actually, there was. Now, Animazement is pretty much the biggest a small con can be. So the video game room was not large, but it was well run and well stocked. They had the Guitar Heroes, which pretty much had constant play for the entire weekend.
I think every convention this year is just all about Guitar Heroes.
Because it's really fun.
Yep.
And you get that feeling, you're playing it, and you feel like you're playing the guitar, even though you're really not. You're just playing, you're just hitting colored buttons, but it's great.
I mean, everything from UberCon to Otakon is rocking the Guitar Hero big time.
They had the DDR in the corner, which had a continuous line of play, once again, for the whole weekend, though surprisingly...
Was it a machine or a pad?
A pad.
Oh.
Actually, very few cons have the machines anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Otakon has really never had the machines.
Nope.
Anime Central always did.
So you know what the thing is that when they do the pads, they tend to use a projector and stuff. And the real machines actually seem to take up less physical space.
Yeah.
Than the pads and all the PS2s and the wires and shit. So, it's usually better to have the machines. Also because they play better.
Yeah, they do. But then you don't have all the custom things.
Nope.
Or like the Stepmania craziness.
No, but you can set that. Or there are some people who have real arcade cabinets with computers and Stepmania inside.
True.
Those guys are awesome.
But the nice thing about the video game room is, one, there was really no Ota Funk.
No Ota Funk?
It didn't really. There was very little BO at Animazement, despite the fact that it was like 1,000 degrees and humid outside.
Awesome.
Being in South Carolina.
Well, you were air conditioned inside, weren't you?
The air conditioning could barely keep up. The dealer's room was the most air conditioned, as was one of the panel rooms, but the rest of the con was actually kind of warm.
Yeah, it says the thing, Otakon has those super mega industrial air conditioners of doom.
Which have their own drawbacks. They suck the moisture out of you and then you die.
Yeah, and they have water everywhere, but it's so hard to find water when you need it.
There was so much water at Animazement. They were on that. There were like 10 water kiosks within a 2-minute walk of any point in the con.
Awesome.
The video game room was fully stocked with all that, and they really planned well. The video game room was right next to the con suite, which had drinks and snacks.
Awesome.
So the people who weren't into the anime thing or who were bored would just kind of hover back and forth between the two until like 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a lot of GameCubes, a lot of PlayStation, Xbox, just the typical game room run out. They had a good crew running the game room, and everyone was really, I guess, polite, as in more polite than I've ever seen at an anime con.
Wow.
And the gaming
Usually
was
the game room is the area of impoliteness
yeah.
and elite gamertudes.
I mean, it's really weird, but people always talk about Southern hospitality. It's kind of true. I mean, there were some people who were, fanboys, but they were real polite about it.
Your show sucks, but don't worry.
I'll come up with an example tomorrow of a terrible fanboy I ran into who, despite all that, was very polite about being a terrible fanboy.
I'm sorry that I smell so poorly and have terrible taste and I'm a pervert, but that's just the way it is.
How come when you're trying to do a polite person, you have this pseudo-British kind of thing
I don't know. I'm trying to be froofy.
What? Why is that froofy?
I don't know.
What are you thinking?
Because I'm not polite, so I got it.
Look at that Homer Simpson with his
Because
la-di-da.
I don't care about politeness, so if I'm going to pretend to be polite, I got to be someone else.
So why British?
Does it sound British?
I don't know. It sounded a little bit...
I was just trying to be froofy. Oi!
Oi! You put the flowers in the vase. Get in. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's silliness. Now, the gaming room was really great, and everyone was really polite. I ran into this guy. I didn't catch his name. He was apparently the Mac master of Marvel vs. Capcom, and no one could beat him.
Marvel vs. Capcom 1 or 2?
I don't know.
Because, whatever.
I didn't get to go in. I was actually guarding the door late at night, covering for someone who had to go do something for a while. Security.
Yep.
And we talked for a while. And he was a really cool guy, and he wanted to take me because I didn't believe him. I didn't actually not believe him, but I was kind of you're really that good? And he's like, come on, I'll show you. And I couldn't move, but...
Was he like the world champion or something?
I don't know, but apparently, because I ran into some other people who pointed him out as being really, really good.
It could have been just the local awesome guy, or the most awesome guy in the state, or something like that.
Yeah, it could have been, but he was good, and he was cool. Basically, everyone I met in that room was cool, and I interviewed a lot of people over there.
Mm-hmm.
Almost no funk. Though the one odd thing was there weren't many DSs or PSPs at the con.
Uh-huh.
I mean, most of the cons we go to, you'll see crowds of DS players everywhere.
Yep.
At this con, I ran into 2 people who had PSPs, and they were talking to each other, actually. I think they were either friends or brother and sister or something. I really couldn't tell, and I didn't have a chance to interview them. But they weren't really playing it out. They just kind of had it with them, and it was also their MP3 player. I ran into a bunch of people playing DS games, so I tried to play with them a little bit, but they were all kind of busy and distracted, and I was kind of tired. That didn't really pan out. And I was worried that there wasn't so much DS action at this con, that maybe if you move away from the Northeast, the DS kind of falls out of favor. Then, standing in line, watching over the cosplay crowd, waiting for everyone to get in, I start hearing people yelling things like, oh my god, the bomb, oh my god, dangerous bomb, bomb kick! And I realized that there were about 7 people scattered all over the line playing Bomberman and yelling and screaming.
Oh, yeah.
And they wouldn't give the game up. The line started moving in, and they're all holding their DSs up, trying to keep the signal going, and they kept playing as the line walked into the building.
Awesome.
Eventually, the last guy, at the end of the line, stopped and bent down like he was going to tie his shoe. And then all of a sudden, I heard all the rest of the guys from inside yell, no! And it was over.
It's actually funny because today I was, the one random day I look at the GameFAQs poll. The poll is, which system do you plan to buy your next video game for? Which I thought is a pretty interesting question to ask.
Yeah.
Number 1 was the PS2 with 29%. I'm just going to round off to the nearest 1%.
Okay.
The DS was in second place with 20%. The Xbox 360 was in third place with 15%. In fourth place, the GameCube with 9%.
You thought we were going to say the PSP, but no.
The PC comes in next with 11%. Then comes in other with 8%. Then the PSP with 5%.
Wow.
And then the Xbox One with 4%. So the DS, 20% of gamers plan to buy their next game for the DS. 5% plan to buy their next game for the PSP. 4-1, people. And I rounded the PSP up and I rounded the DS down. The actual numbers are DS 20.08%. PSP 4.63%. So for every 4 DSs out there, or for every 4 people who are planning to buy a game for the DS real soon, there is less than 1 person planning to buy their next game for the PSP.
Now, some people have pointed out that we seem to be very down on the PSP pretty much any time it comes up.
Numbers, people.
Now,
we're skeptics here. We go by the evidence.
Yeah, but we're not saying it's a bad system. It's an awesome system, the same way the Game Gear was an awesome system. And once again, I still own my Game Gear, and I wish it had been successful, but I knew it wouldn't be, and it wasn't. But it still had some good games, and I'm still glad I owned it.
Yeah, it seems the PSP is going to even have less good games.
Yeah,
it does have those Mega Man games I kind of want to play. I noticed in the store a couple times. But that's about it.
Though actually, I note how the PS2 is doing so well. I wouldn't be surprised if the PS2 continued to outsell the PS3 for a time after the PS3 comes out.
Oh, I can almost guarantee the PS1 outsold the PS2 for a time.
Yeah.
You know, because the backwards compatibility, people don't mind continuing on with the system they've got, knowing that eventually they'll buy the new system and they'll be all right.
But anyway, I have actually no more real gaming coverage of Animazement. Other than that, I ran into a small group of people playing a German board game that they had bought at the dealer's room at Animazement.
What game was it?
Some game I'd never heard of, and I actually didn't catch the name of it.
Oh, how helpfully. So there was a guy selling German board games at Animazement?
Yes, there was. Well, he was a gamer store. He was selling all sorts of gamer paraphernalia.
Dice, Cthulhu's.
He was. The thing is, he wasn't a, I don't know, high-quality German dealer. Because he had mostly like the Munchkin things, the Steve Jackson things.
Oh, yeah, that's what most of them have.
Yeah, the super popular American or Euro games.
It's the only way you can make money in that kind of business is to really sell the popular stuff big time, and the other stuff, you buy exactly as many as you're going to sell.
Or be Millennium Games in Rochester and have everything because you know it'll all sell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, when I was at the Dragon's Den this weekend playing games.
Yeah.
The guy was like, apparently Dragon's Den had gotten in a few copies of Kalis and they sold out. And they wanted, the guy was like, when are you going to get more? And the owner guy was like, yeah, I just can't get them. The distributor is sold out. And I'm like, you should call this guy Ed at Millennium Games and ask him where he gets his board games from. Because he's got like 10 copies of the damn thing. So he went to I'm like, oh, and they spell the name weird. It's like 2 N's. So the guy goes over to the computer and he finds the website and he's like, 54 gaming tables. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. What's wrong with you, Mr. Paintball?
Because we've always talked about it in front of this guy and with all these Moz guys that our gaming store back in Rochester is probably one of the best gaming stores in the country.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the best gaming store in the world.
Yeah.
That I've ever seen.
Not counting Germany.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
I still haven't been to that Complete Strategist in the city. Maybe we should go there.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. Maybe when we go to that Pillows concert or something.
Oh, that'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, the reason I don't remember the name of the game is that it didn't look very good. It just looked very big and complicated and weird. And I tried to talk to the guys a little bit, but they were really if you guys are listening, I'm sorry, but you were really kind of unfriendly, and you didn't seem to want anyone to ask what you were doing or pay any attention to the game you were trying to play.
Oh, well, then they're not German board gamers. Real German board gamers are like, yeah, check this shit out, blah, and then they're talking all in funny accents and stuff.
Yep. But the other thing was they had never heard of any game I tried to ask them about. Tigers and Euphrates, Puerto Rico, Settlers, never heard of any of those.
Huh.
So I don't know what their deal was.
They weren't German gamers. They were just some guys who bought something that they thought looked cool and were trying to play it. That's probably why it's a game you never heard of, because they probably just bought it based on its looks or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish they'd been friendlier. I wanted to interview them, but they really didn't seem to want to talk to anyone at the con.
Asshats.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay, so since Rym talked about something...
I got one more tiny bit.
All right.
One more tiny little bit. This is our friend Nuri, who does Artist Alley, a podcast. She's appeared on the show, I believe, once. She will be appearing on it at some point in the future for another interesting episode. But she had an idea a long time ago, and when she told me this idea, I said, that's gold. That is solid gold. She started making earring dice. An earring that is like a D8 or a D20. And they look really good. Like, just, drill a hole in dice and do all the stuff to it.
You put a hook into it.
Yeah.
You put a hook with a chain and another hook.
But she does it really well. Like, she knows what she's doing. They came out really well. At the con, she made a few and was selling them. The demand was insane. You should see how many people.
Why doesn't she make a website?
I think that might be on the docket now.
Make a website with a little credit card thing and.
It made me very happy, the amount of geekery, just that how many people would walk up to the table, see these dice and go, oh my God, that's awesome. I have to buy them for my significant other. Oh my God. Do you have a D8? Do you have a D12? I need a D12. It has to be blue.
I need a blue D12 for my blue barbarian.
People were like, if I give you some of my dice, will you turn them into earrings for me? So I thought that was very cool that there was that much geekery going on at the con.
Yep. That's the level of geekery I come to expect.
And of course, my full coverage of Animazement will be tomorrow on Anime Day. I only say this because we seem to have picked up quite a few new listeners from Animazement.
All right.
And if you're waiting for it, it hasn't happened yet.
So, since Rym talked the first half of the main bit, I'm going to get the second half all to me. Well, Rym will probably chime in a whole bunch.
Bababooey, bababooey, bababooey.
Okay. So, we have a friend who plays this game called Planetside.
Yeah, our friend Adam, a.k.a. Artboy, you know him in the forums. He's a really cool guy.
Yep, so if you don't know, Planetside I don't know if it's officially the first and only, but it's pretty much the main MMO that's also an FPS. So you run around shooting, but there's a whole bunch of people everywhere. This
is the kind of thing I dreamt about when I was a kid. Like, I dreamed of the day when something like this would appear.
In theory, looking at it from that standpoint, an MMOFPS could be awesome. So, I was always skeptical. I never liked it. Really, there's no MMOs that are good. If you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, Puzzle Pirates is probably the best.
Yep.
Kingdom of Loathing was barely M.
Barely. So, he tells us the last time he was hanging out that, Planetside is free. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, me not being a shit talker, well, I guess it isn't really shit talking, but, I don't knock it before I tried it. Let me tell you, I could say that. So, I went and tried it. Now, I'm going to say some pretty negative things. So, Adam, before you come and tell me how I'm wrong and stupid, let me tell you, I gave this game more chances than it deserved. I played it on 2 separate days for hours and hours each day.
I can verify this because I heard him in his room. This is what I'd hear. I'd hear click, 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 click. What the fuck? Click, 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 click. Oh, this is just bullshit. Click, 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 click. Rym, you got to see this crap. Click, 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 click. God, it won't even work. All
right, so I made a list of every time I went like that. Now, normally, under normal circumstances, the first time the game pissed me off, I would have uninstalled it, and that would have been the end. Because, I wanted to give it a fair chance before. Oh, I'm burping all over the place.
I'm not editing that out.
Okay. I wanted to give it a fair chance before I talked about it. So I sat through all this pain and suffering before compiling my final list of grievances and why I think Planetside is terrible and shouldn't be played by anyone and no one should pay money for it ever.
Now, I will qualify his stuff by saying that I think the reason that Artboy's experience with this game are so much better, at least in his eyes, are mainly that he plays with a bunch of people he knows, and almost anything is fun if you play it with a bunch of people you know.
Yeah. It's a mob mentality. You do something. I mean, let's say I'm jumping up and down. It's not cool. But if all of a sudden 50 people are jumping up and down with me and we all tell each other that jumping up and down is awesome, jumping up and down is awesome. That's the whole point of guilds in World of Warcraft. It's not any different than playing World of Warcraft on your own. All you do is click on the monster until it dies. Click on the monster until it dies.
But now you've got someone else also clicking on the monster or clicking on you.
And you both look at each other and say, this is awesome, isn't it? And you tell each other that it's great, and it becomes great. It's a psychology thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope. As long as you recognize. We do it all the time, too. Look at us right here, just telling each other everything we do is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we're so awesome, we just can't.
Isn't making a geek podcast awesome?
It's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, all right. So here's I just kind of scrawled every time something pissed me off enough to pick up the pen and stop looking at the game. So let's see. First of all, the load times. Now, I'm gonna be apologetic for every one of these, just to be, I guess, less than super this sucks.
But it seems to suck.
It does. So, the load times. It might just be my shitty computer, but my computer isn't that shitty. My computer plays Half-Life 2 like a dream.
Your computer, remember, Planetside is kind of old.
It is kind of old.
Your computer is more powerful than anything that existed when Planetside appeared.
Yep. Now, I don't care about graphics in games. As far as I'm concerned, as long as the graphics don't interfere with the gameplay, they're all good. But Planetside has shittier graphics than Half-Life 2, shittier physics than Half-Life 2. Hell, it has shittier physics and graphics than Tribes 2, or maybe equal. And the load times were preposterous. Absolutely insane. I mean, Half-Life 2 has a bit of a load time on my computer. The load times were double, if not more. Now, the worst part of the load times, because I sat through it, there was no cancel button. So as soon as I started loading, I was stuck until it finished loading.
Granted, the Quake 2 and the first Half-Life had a little bit of problem with that.
Yep.
Where if you started to do something, you were basically stuck until it finished before you could open the console again.
But you think this is an MMO that's constantly patched and updated. Someone would have complained about the incredible load times and why there's no cancel button, and they would have put a cancel button in by now after years and years of this game being out, and there's no cancel button if you start loading something. So that's the first time. Is anytime I did anything, the load was insane and it wasn't worth waiting through. Number 2, when you join the game, it gives you a choice of teams, and there's 3 teams you can join. At least 3 teams that I saw. The team that needs players, you get an XP bonus if you join that team. I guess that's a good incentive for getting people to join the team with the least players, but doesn't that kind of give sort of an unfair advantage to one of the teams? I don't know.
Well, that team's probably already down.
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed like an okay thing. It's not really a plus or a minus. It's just kind of there. And I don't, I'm just kind of skeptical of it a little bit. I need to see more. All right, let's see. Okay, the training portion of the game. So you join the game, and it does this awesome training thing. The training is an awesome thing. On the right side of the screen, I think, it says, do this, do that. It even tells you what buttons to push and everything. And as you do those things, it puts a green checkbox and then tells you to do the next thing. It was perfect. It taught me a whole bunch of stuff about the game. The problem is, after about, 5 different things that I did, it said, okay, do instant action. Now, instant action is this thing where you say instant action, and because it's a giant world with not so many players covering the entire world, there isn't fighting going on everywhere. In fact, if you go to certain places, you can just walk around in this monotonous wilderness forever and ever and ever and never meet anyone. Unless you try to mess something up, like a base, then they'll come after you. But, most of the time you'll just, you just walk around the middle of nowhere. So the fighting is going on only in a few places around the world and certain continents and things. So instant action immediately teleports you. Well, not immediately. You push instant action, then you can't touch anything for like 5 seconds. And if you manage to successfully do that, it'll teleport you somewhere with a long loading time, of course, where there is fighting going on. The tutorial told me to click instant action, so I did. It sent me somewhere. I came out of a spawn point and was immediately killed. The tutorial was thus over, and I didn't learn anything else about the game. I don't think it was going to teach me anything else about the game anyway. And I had barely learned shit. Like, I knew how to walk and shoot. If I didn't know how to play an FPS already, I would have been dead in the water. It was like the greatest tutorial software and system in the universe that stopped teaching you after it taught you less than the basics. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, so there are ads in this game. I don't know if it's because I don't pay for it, And there weren't ads all over the game, but in the bases were ads for Castrol Motor Oil.
Wow.
Now, I don't think that needs anything else to be said about it.
Wow.
It seems that there are a lot of systems in the game that just aren't explained to you, and I wasn't about to read all the giant documentation to play an FPS. I figured out everything there possibly is in Half-Life 2 and Tribes 2 without reading any documentation whatsoever. So why should this FPS be any more complicated? Apparently when you jump, there's this little meter that goes down and then slowly rebuilds, I guess, to limit your jumping. And when you jump, your guy grunts like he's in pain.
Yeah.
And you can hurt yourself by jumping, it seems. And nowhere in the guides or any tutorial stuff that I read did it really explain what this was. I would have had to look up exactly how this little, I guess, energy meter worked and exactly what used it and all that shit. What the hell? I mean, I don't mind it being there, and I don't know the game mechanics of it because it didn't tell me. It's just there. There's a lot of stuff on the screen that's just there and is never explained, and you have to read complicated documentation in a complicated format to figure it out. And for an FPS, hell no, I'm not reading that shit. Maybe for a Civilization, type game or an RTS, I'll read stuff. Not for an FPS. In an FPS, I walk and shoot. That's it.
Yeah, but even for a game like Civilization, I mean, the only things I read were as I played the game, I'd read the text around things and figure out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I would never read something before I played.
This game provided some help text for certain things. Like you'd walk up to something for the first time and it would say, "This is this. You use it this way." And that was kind of helpful. But it's like if I never came across something, I would never know what it was or how to use it. And there's this VR room where you can go and try out all the weapons and vehicles in the game. Oh, the vehicles. I don't know if there maybe isn't a button to do it, but when you're driving a vehicle, you can't look around. So all you can see is straight forward where you're driving, which I thought was very, very annoying because I like to look behind me and to the left and to the right to make sure no one's sneaking up on me to, blow my vehicle up. Maybe there's a button that does that, but I don't know. It didn't tell me. Now, let's see what else is terrible. Okay. Here, I'm gonna cut it short and just stick with the major complaints. Running really sucks. How do you run an FPS, Rym?
I hold down my fire button and I'm automatically running.
Yep. Now, how do you walk slowly?
I hold down shift.
And then you also go forward, right?
Yeah.
In this game, it doesn't work like that.
Okay.
If you hold down forward, you walk.
All right.
If you let go of forward, you don't walk.
All right.
There's a button that you push that enables running. You push it and your guy just once. It's sort of like caps lock. You push it and your guy starts running. And you push it again and he stops running.
All right, it's not too bad.
Yeah, but it was really annoying.
I guess it's more like, is the game set up so that running is a means of transport, but it's not, you don't use that when you're fighting?
I really don't know because whenever I got into a fight and there were a lot of guys on the screen, the game was incredibly laggy and blah. And I couldn't really aim at guys. And yeah. And I don't know, people have said about this game, oh, it doesn't matter what level you are. You just have the right equipment to counter your enemy. Well, I was a brand new guy and I got a bunch of levels by doing the VR. And I had a whole bunch of equipment at my disposal. And I tried all sorts of different loadouts. And no matter what I chose, everyone seemed to do 1 billion damage to me, and I couldn't really damage anyone worth a shit. So I'm beginning to think that level and all that stuff has a lot more to do with it than you would think. Maybe you haven't been a noob in a while.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can deal with the lag that happens whenever you're near anyone.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, Half-Life was the end of lag.
Yep.
That was the time at which they realized they could have netcode that fixed
Tribes
that.
2 worked perfectly on a 56K modem. I shit you not. Therefore, this game on my cable modem should have been slick as hell. I had pings to the server of less than 30. Fuck you if there's lag. There should never be lag. If there's lag, something's wrong.
Yep.
Now, and it's not me either. My ping was 30. It was something with the server. And remember, my computer plays Half-Life 2 just fine. My computer isn't slow. All right, the full scan. I installed the game, and the way the game installs, this is incredibly long download of gigs and gigs and gigs of data. That's understandable because it's a big game, and I'm downloading the whole thing. Okay. The second time I played the game, it did a full scan that I could not cancel or skip, where it went and rescanned every single file in the entire game. It took like 10 minutes. I guess it was making sure I wasn't cheating or making sure the files weren't broken. I don't know what it was doing, but it basically made me wait forever before I even started the game. So I didn't even encounter the first incredibly long load time, and I was already waiting like 10 minutes just to start the damn game.
Wow, you're a very patient man. That would have been enough for me to quit.
Yep.
I would have.
Yeah, I told you, I gave this game a chance. I gave it a serious chance. A friend says, try this game. It's free, and I like it a lot. I fucking tried it, and it sucks ass. No one should pay for Planetside. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. Bad, bad old game. I don't know why it's still alive.
Now, if you make, we're talking specifically to you, Adam, or anyone else out there who listens and is a fan of Planetside, an audio rebuttal, we'll play it.
Yep.
We want to hear an argument. We want you to defend your game.
Yeah. Kotaku had that great thing after E3, at E3, where they went around to the game developers and said, justify your game. So, yeah, justify this game. As far as I'm concerned, as an FPS, it's mediocre. As an MMO, it's nothing. As a game, technologically speaking, it's terrible.
It sounds like I would rather play World of Warcraft than that.
I probably would rather play World of Warcraft, because at least World of Warcraft works.
Works really well on many platforms. Well, 2 platforms.
Even Max.
Yeah.
The other thing, the combat in this game was even worse. I prefer the Halo combat to this. I mean, you couldn't jump or duck. It didn't really help strategically like in a Counter-Strike way, but you couldn't move fast and do awesome moves in a Quake sort of way. It was just walk around and find the bad guys and click at them in a slow and boring sort of way, like less than Wolfenstein 3D, only slower.
Wow.
You just all you could really do was pick the right weapon, choose the right ammunition for the weapon, walk around, find the bad guy's point, and shoot at them. The only strategy seemed to be on a more than one person level, as in get a bunch of people to all do it together, and that's the strategy is, get a bunch of people to choose the right weapon and then hold the button down, aiming in the same general direction.
Which, I mean, I guess is
time.
cool because that's the point, squad combat and all that, but it makes it so that the game is just units, like large units of people moving around, and the only people who really have a fun game now are the commanders who tell people where to go. They're the ones playing the strategy game. If you're not doing that, you're just a guy.
There's no FPS skill involved. Imagine if it was FPS skill, then 3 awesome dudes with, pistols could, take out some crazy awesome guys.
Like in Tribes.
This completely eliminates that possibility.
Scott and I could freaking, like the 2 of us alone, capture a flag if the other team wasn't so great, or depending on the server, where he'd bomb the generators with his satchel charge. I'd fly over and like grab the flag, and then I was a heavy. Then I'd toss it to him. He'd get on a speeder bike and speed away, and I'd sit there mortaring everyone.
Yep, there really is no, as far as I'm concerned, there is no FPS skill. There's no room for any FPS skill whatsoever in Planetside. The only things that make a difference in this game are number of people on your side in proximity to you, their selection of weapons, and the selection and what weapons you've selected, and how many you have available to you, and what vehicles you brought with you, and what bases are nearby, and all that sort of shit. Which is really good if you suck at FPSs, but you really like FPSs. This is awesome for you, actually.
This would have been a good game for Luke. He really liked being the commander in Natural Selection.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like there's a commanding interface. The only type of commanding you can do is...
call your friends and say, hey, get on the server.
Just talk to people. And... the other thing is this game, the one thing that bothered me the most, actually, is in the game, every game has lingo, Like, if I come up to you and say they nerfed something, you don't know what that is unless you're a gamer. in World of Warcraft, there's all kinds of
Yeah.
lingo that means resurrecting.
Got a
and-
hearth gank 45L whatever bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this
but-
game had a lingo, but it seemed that the documentation for the game used the lingo, and the game itself used the lingo, as well as all the players, and nowhere did the lingo didn't make sense, and no one taught it to you. And the game, the documentation talked to you in the lingo of the game before teaching it to you.
Yeah. Now compare that to natural selection, where the lingo was like incredibly obvious.
Yep.
Someone would say, "All right, guys, heavy train," and if anyone thought, "What does that mean?" Suddenly, a bunch of heavy armor starts appearing, and everyone forms a massive line.
Yeah, there would basically be messages constantly popping up saying, "Go to the weird name, blah 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 blah," and I tried to do some stuff that people told me to do. Like occasionally, people try to help me, and they'd say, "Go to Rezhawaga," and I'd be like, "Where?" They'd be like, "Look on your map," and I'd look on my map, and I'd say, "Okay, I see it on my map. Where am I on the map?" Because I couldn't find the thing that said "You are here." They're like, "You're the arrow," and I'm like, "There are 3 arrows on this map." And then they'd be like, "Go to where the number 3 is." I'm like, "There's 2 or 3 number 3s. Which one? The big one. Okay, I'm gonna try."
Yeah.
And then it just
Now compare that to natural selection, where you say, "Go to reactor core." You look on your map and you see reactor core. You see a hovering holographic reactor core in the direction of the reactor
and
core.
you see a picture of you with a little thing that looks just like your radar. The interface of this game was pretty much bad overall. The way, you close a window and then it's almost impossible to figure out how to open that exact window again. And the way because the heads-up display is a bunch of little tiny windows, and they all work in a non-intuitive way. And the controls can't be customized the way I want. And,
I'm glad my video card died. Otherwise, I would have been playing this game with you.
Yeah, so recently the new PC game I'm giving a chance is the Bang Howdy, which is the new game from the Puzzle Pirates guys.
It looks kind of cool.
It looks kind of cool, but I played it today and the beta, and I was a little bit disappointed, so I'll get back to that in some other day.
Yeah, give us a couple weeks.
Yep.
And on that note, we went long today, which is fine because you all keep demanding longer and longer episodes.
That's fine. That's fine. So do you want to go watch that movie or go to bed?
I don't know. Let me do the post-production. And then, see, just before this, we almost made our thing of the day, this Kill Bill thing. But it reminded us how awesome Kill Bill is, and we kind of want to watch the movie again.
Yep.
So without further ado, once again, tomorrow will be our coverage of Animazement. Thursday will be our coverage of how the airline industry is poop.
And that should make up for the all Scott day last week.
I still haven't
Because
listened.
it'll be a whole lot of Rym days.
Yeah. Well, my day is tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the day of Scott not having much to say.
Hooray!
Other than,
I get it easy.
I get reaction shots from him like, "Oh, why did someone dress up like that?"
Yep.
Though I will say one final little tidbit for anyone still listening: the best cosplay at Animazement by far was this group of guys who dressed up as Fark.com, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. And that was Geek Nights with Rym and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geek Nights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geek Nights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.